It's Johnny from Johnny's Vintage Moto here. I've got my Suzuki here. I'm getting ready to put some new bolts in the battery box to try and get that going. It's a little shaky because I didn't lose one of the bolts. This guy that was working on the bike lost one of the bolts and put it all back together, trying to think I wasn't going to see that. So, I got some new bolts and I'm going to get working on putting that in. I did want to show you one thing on this battery housing here. It does sit vertical because it's an acid battery. My goal eventually is to get a gel battery, which you can sit at different positions without it leaking out. So I will show you that here real quick. This battery box currently sits pretty vertical, as vertical as it can get without that screw in there. Sits directly across from the air filter there. Fits in really nicely. There's about a little bit of a gap, maybe an 1/16 of an inch of a gap there until the air filter. Anyway, my goal is to kind of eradicate some of these wires here, push everything off to the side so we have a big gap right here. I really love that gapped out bike look. So with the acid battery in this housing, it has to be straight up. What I would like to do is direct this and go right over to here and sit it down into this cavity down in here. But as you can see, as I hold the camera straight up, it's at an angle here. So we wouldn't be able to do this acid battery currently in that position. But eventually that's my goal. But today the goal is to get that screw in there and get the battery back in, get the battery cables attached appropriately, wheel this thing out and start it up and see how it runs. And I'm currently sitting in my garage right now. So we got a nice enough day. I'm going to try and get her out there and at least start her up and maybe go around the block. All right. Well, I've got the wires tucked up as good as they're going to get today. Got the battery back in with the first casing on, but not the exterior casing that goes on here. There's a toolbox that goes on that. But as you can see, we got most of the wiring here kind of cleaned up in this cavity. This stuff is not really movable for the moment, but we got a beautiful cavity sitting there. Something I also did today was attach a front and back camera system on my bike, which is this baby. It shows the front and the back. Currently, obviously, I don't have an SD card in there, but you can switch the modes on it. Like I said, I'm in my garage, so there's not much of a view. But I did the wiring. Comes down here, and you can see this kind of sticks out right here, but it's kind of the only place I had to put it. Up underneath, came up through this hole that's already here for the other wiring. Down through, there's a power box. It connects with the battery. Come over onto this side. And this is where the wiring comes for this here, so I gotta kind of get that figured out. But this is where I ended up putting the camera right here. You can barely see it, but if you get in any tight spots or an accident or somebody cuts you off or something, you'll have the availability to have the video and picture if you're able to take one. So one thing I love about this bike is the hole here for the wiring. It's really nice. It's a little bit of a mess, but you know what? They give you quite a bit of extra wiring, so I didn't want to cut all that out today. Just put it in there to make sure it worked. Maybe someday I'll eliminate some of that wiring, but just wanted to give you an update there. That's how it sits on my tank. There are other availabilities of placement, but that's what I chose to do on mine.